This is Isaac Airmet, and this is how you solve problem 13, section 5.1, where you have to find the general formula for a sub n of the sequence 1, negative 1/3, 1/5, negative 1/7. And of course, that corresponds to n equals 1, n equals 2, n equals 3, and n equals 4. Your first step is to look at your denominator and your numerator separately and see how they change. In this case, it's clear that your denominator is increasing by 2 every time, whereas your numerator is switching between 1 and negative 1. Now, let's try and get separate formulas for your numerator and your denominator. In this case, it's clear that your denominator is going to end up being 2 minus 1. It can't simply be 2n because your denominator is always 1 less than twice your n value. For example, if it was simply 2n, when n equals 3, you would have 1/6, but it's 1/5, therefore you have to subtract 1. In your numerator, it switches between 1 and negative 1, so we know that it has to be negative 1 to some power. Now to get what power it is, you have to look at when your 1 is negative or positive. In this case, whenever your n is an odd value, you have an even value of 1, whereas whenever n is an even value, you have an odd value of n. Therefore, that something has to be n minus 1, so that whenever you have an odd value of n, you get an even value of 1, or whenever you have an whenever you have an even value of n, you get an odd value of 1. So that will simply switch your even or odd value in corresponding relation from your n to your 1. Once you get these three parts, you can then combine them into your formula for a sub n. In this case, you get negative 1 to the n minus 1 over 2n minus 1. Now, you can plug in your values of n to make sure that this works. And we're going to do that for 1 and 4, just to verify that is correct. If you plug in 1, you get negative 1 to the 1 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. That simplifies to negative 1 to the 0th power over 1. And as we all know, anything to the 0th power is 1. So it becomes 1 over 1, or just 1. Now for n equals 4, you'd have negative 1 to the 4 minus 1 over 8 minus 1. Negative 1 to the 4 minus 1 is negative 1 to the 3rd power, or simply negative 1. And in your denominator, 8 minus 1 is 7, which should give you negative 1/7, and that's what we get in the terms. Now this also works for n equals 2 and n equals 3, and you can plug those in if you want, but we've shown and gotten the formula for a sub n for the sequence, which goes 1, negative 1/3, 1/5, negative 1/7. Thank you.